Catalyze, Class 5. Excited to have you all join on an evening. My name is Dave Brown. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the CEO of Valley Leadership. We're joined by Carrie Larson, who runs and manages and leads the Catalyze program, along with Paige Susi, who's our marketing and communications director. And just very excited to have you join us for a few minutes here. We usually get out here about a half hour, 40 minutes to have you learn all about the Catalyze program. Exciting that we're going into our 5th year. You'll also hear from an alumni. But thank you for joining. I'm going to give a quick overview of Catalyze. I know many of you have heard about Valley Leadership. Valley Leadership is now getting close to 50 years of producing leaders and activating leaders in Arizona. And we're excited about our semi-new programming. It's now 5th, 6th year of it, though, and your interest in it. So quick background. We'll do a little bit about VL. You'll go into some of the details of Catalyze. So for those of you that are detail-oriented, what are dates? When am I doing this? What's the format? All that sort of stuff. We'll get into that. Carrie will get you through that. We'll also hear from some alumni of the program. Great guests today to tell you all about what they got out of Catalyze. Then we'll do some quick Q&A, and we'll have you out in time for dinner. So overall, though, we want to get to the basics of Valley Leadership. This is our vision. We want to bring a broad spectrum of Arizonans together, work in collaboration, and then impact. So each of these arrows are very intentional. When we think about how we bring a broad spectrum of Arizonans together, we've done so with Catalyze being virtual and in person, but we can get people from all over the state, Prescott and other places. We want to see people who come from all walks of life, all political backgrounds, all work backgrounds, nonprofit, private sector, government, philanthropy, just so that we can all learn from each other. We're very big believers in a broad spectrum of people coming together can solve Arizona's challenges. We want to work in collaboration as leaders, so nothing's done in a silo here. We're all doing it together. And then most importantly, we want to have impact. So we don't want to just get together to get together's sake. We don't want to just learn things for learning's sake. We want to apply that, put it to work, and have you impact Arizona's most pressing issues. Arizona has lots of them, and we have a way for you to do that. But either way, when you leave Catalyze, we have that expectation you're going to go do awesome things for Arizona. And the basis of all of that and our fundamental underlying principle with Valley Leadership is that leadership is action. So this really helped form our new programming. It's not so much where you are in the corporate ladder, how much your resume, how many pages your resume is, what you do at extracurricular. It was really more, are you willing to do something for Arizona? And if you are, and you're ready to execute, take action, you're in. We want you to align to some values, which I'll go through in a second. But overall, quick and dirty, we want you to take action. There's lots to be done. It won't get done through just knowing about things or talking about things. Those are fun and those are needed. But at the end of the day, we need to take that next step, the harder step of going and then actually doing something about it. And that's what you'll learn in Catalyze, how you'll do that yourself, how you'll do that as part of a team, how you'll work with other people you may disagree with. All those sorts of things come into play with Catalyze so that when you leave, you're ready to put that action to work. Same breath, we want to make sure we have values, not just nice words, pretty words, flowery words we put on paper, but words that we will expect you to operate from as leaders. Again, we want to set that example of leadership, not just for Arizona, but for the country. And so these are 5 principles of doing that guide everything Valley Leadership does, from how you're recruited, to how you'll apply, to how you'll learn things in the course, to how you'll interact with speakers, to what you'll do afterwards, all in these 5. And we have just done such a great job with bright leaders who have helped build these out, where they're values that aren't just on paper, but that we can operate from, that we can practice, which is super exciting because we want you to be driven to do. We want you to put Arizona first. There's a whole set of behaviors and ways to build trust with people, especially people you disagree with, which in Arizona, you're going to come across. How do we move things forward if we're just retreating to corners? How do we do everything as a team? As I mentioned, there's no silos in what needs to be done in Arizona. and for Arizona. We need to be thinking about it together as a team. And then lastly, how you know yourself. What biases do you bring to the table? You'll learn with one of our sessions, a couple of our sessions, that everybody has biases. How do we check those at the door, but recognize that we have them in order to build trust, in order to put Arizona first for the greater good and for an outcome? That's very much a part of the Catalyze program and all of the VL DNA. So tonight you do want to do, otherwise you wouldn't have joined the recruitment here. After that, though, whether or not Catalyze is a fit for where you are in your family life, work life, play life, all those sorts of things. When you hear the details, it'll either be a fit this year or not. Just quickly, as a kind of, we say this to every class, every year you're going to be busy. So might as well do it. This is the year to do it because it doesn't get any less busy. And we've made it as accessible and easy as possible to participate in something like Catalyze. But yeah, you'll hear it from us more tonight. We're always available to take questions. Do you want to do, will Catalyze be the thing for you? And then afterwards, a couple of different options. You have Impact Maker and Explore. Impact Maker is our evergreen system for chasing and activating what you're passionate about, what you're excited about, what thing you want to see, what needle you want to see move in Arizona. We have a team for it. We have a group of people year over year working on it. Nothing is temporary and confined to a year class. It's just always available. That was the big intention behind Impact Maker, is that wherever and whenever you're ready to engage on a most pressing issue facing Arizona, the Impact Maker is there for you. We want you to have that foundational understanding and experience through Catalyze, but once you do, Impact Maker is there for you whenever you want it. Also Explore. Explore wasn't a second thing you do after Catalyze. It was an additional thing you could do. Go out and see Arizona. You're going to learn about all the issues in Catalyze, and you're going to learn about how they show up in different parts of Arizona. But then you can go see how they show up in different parts of Arizona. And Explore is actually mid-program now. It's a spring program, smaller cohort, all in person, goes off and sees different parts of Arizona to see how the issues you saw and learned about in Catalyze show up. And again, always there for you. We want Catalyze to set that foundation for your leadership journey in Arizona, one that's helps you personally, but also, and more importantly, helps Arizona, helps the community. When you mush it all together, we have a great state to call home. So that's the overview of Valley leadership and the why behind Catalyze, and some of the why behind our leadership philosophies. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Carrie, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the mechanics and details of what you have in store for you August through February. Carrie.
Yeah, thanks, David. And I'll start a little bit big picture and then get into the details. So how we go about this, creating this baseline sort of intro program to help build the skills aligned to those values, is we think about how can we help you make connections with others who are eager to do the same kind of work impacting community that you are. How can we help have there be space to build knowledge about yourself, but also about the most pressing issues facing Arizona? How can we how do we build up introspection, communication, and collaboration skills? So when we want to do this actual work, we're ready to do it with people. And then last up, how do we broaden our perspectives by hearing from our guest speakers, but also hearing from other folks in the program, and also a little bit just thinking about our own experiences and how we can gain some new perspectives from that. We take these all together, and then this is why we call it sort of our prerequisite program for the other programs. And I know there's a handful of folks here who are here specifically because you have connected with an impact team or connected with someone who's done an Explore and are interested in those programs. And so this is step one, if that's where you're ultimately headed. So I want to talk for just a minute about where these most pressing issues facing Arizona came from. We didn't just grab them randomly. We didn't pick things that we just personally think are important. What we took is the Vitalist Healthy Communities Wheel. So if you're not familiar with Vitalist, they're a local organization with the mission of improving the health of all Arizonans. And this wheel is based on the social determinants of health. And those are factors that determine whether people and communities live healthy and fulfilling lives. World Health Organization uses this, governments use it, social service providers, researchers, all kind of folks. And we took a look at this and said, okay, what are the issues that are a big deal in Arizona that are that would impact the pieces of this wheel? And that's what we take as our most pressing issues that we make sure we talk about. So you can see here, these are the topics that we have. If it's got the golden brown color, that means it's an in-person session. And so we have a couple of sessions where we really focus on being together. We have one other in-person session called our Path to Impact session. That's in person and that's mid-program, not optional. And that's a chance to meet people from these impact teams that Dave mentioned and I'll talk more about in a minute. One more big picture thing before we zoom in a little more, and that's our framework. We really want you to know that we've really taken a lot of best practices from what it looks like to create a curriculum, to create a program, and make sure that we have our big picture things we're driving for, the things that undergird our programming. And so we have 3 big themes of adaptability, equity, and interconnectedness. And we drive at these themes by continuously asking these questions as we go through the program. So what does it look like to show up to one of these programs? We usually have some prep work. And so for example, in this session, you've done some time thinking about your own personal ways of thinking and reflecting on it. And you'll show up, and often in the first 5 minutes, you'll find yourself in a breakout room with a group of people and reflecting on, what are my ways of thinking? What surprised me about them? What was kind of telling me what I already knew about myself? And then we're back in it and maybe hearing from a guest speaker and really making sure we're keeping things moving. It is on Zoom. Most of those sessions you saw are on Zoom and they're 3 hours long, but we do work hard to balance keeping it engaging with keeping it really accessible, which is why we choose to have several of those sessions on Zoom. So who are our guest speakers? It'd be too much to show you all of them. The last class had 27 different folks who came and talked to the class. But here is a handful of folks who have come and talked to the last couple Catalyze classes. Dave has incredible connections and access to people doing amazing work and is great at convincing people to give some of their time to come talk to us. So structure. We've already talked a little bit about this. There's the 14 sessions. They're on Zoom, start in August, end in February. They're about every other week. And so when you're thinking about the flow of work, you kind of have a big week when you have your 3-hour session, and then there's an off week where there still is some work because you're prepping for the upcoming session, but that prep work is less. And I would say most of the time it's like 45 minutes to an hour, but I do like to say 1 to 1.5 hours because there's a couple sessions where the prep is a little bit heavier based on the topics that we're digging into. So we do virtual sessions, like I said, because we really want to make it accessible. And we find that's a great way to also get busy people, busy, impressive guest speakers. If they don't have to drive somewhere and do something and they can hop on, we get more time from more people. That said, we know you want human connection and in-person connection as well. And so we balance the program with that as well, that we have 4 different in-person sessions, 3 are required, and one of them is an optional social. So if we hop into that, the socials are really a mostly unstructured time. A lot of our program, as you're hearing from me right now, is very structured and fast-paced. We really try to make socials a time to slow down, just talk to people, get a chance to catch up with folks you want to hear from. And then our mandatory mid-session in-person session is a chance to meet the leads of the impact maker teams and think about a lot about yourself and your own path to impact. I do want to talk about one other group you have access to during this program, which is, we call it your pod. It's a group of 7 to 8 people that we place you with. And we try to get you time with your pod at those in-person events. So you get to spend some time with your pod at the kickoff, you spend some time with your pod at the mid-session event. And then we give you, not in every single virtual sessions, but most virtual sessions, you get some time with that group of people. So they're kind of your home base, your base camp, a group of people you get to connect with. We pair that up with random Zoom breakout groups too, to make sure you're actually getting a chance to talk to the breadth and depth of people in the program. So what are we trying to do with all this? Like Dave said, our ultimate goal is that we can figure out what it is we want to do for Arizona, harness that, and go forward. And our pattern for doing that is we start with the people. You have all these guest speakers you get to hear from, all the people in the program you get to hear from, and then we put into that all the reflection you're getting to do about yourself. How much time do I have? What do I care about? What are my strengths? What's my knowledge? And in the end, we put all of that together and say, what's my commitment going forward? If you're familiar with older versions of the program, people did a project during the program. That's not how we do it now. We say, dig in on understanding yourself, on understanding Arizona in this program. And when we give you all that time back and you're done with the program, then start thinking, now what am I going to roll my time into? What's the thing that I want to do next? One of those things might be impact maker, especially if you're someone who is maybe new to Arizona, you have an issue you care about, but you're not sure how it fits in Arizona. Maybe you hear about an issue in Catalyze or elsewhere that you're fascinated by, but you don't have the personal knowledge of that issue and you're not sure what to do. The impact teams, we have 7 right now, and then we're always sort of thinking, what's the next one to do? These teams tackle to-do list items in pursuit of a combination of immediate impact, but also aiming for the big picture important systemic change. And if you don't have a ton of time to give, this is a great opportunity to say, here's a group of people with a vision, a mission, who are driving towards something, and I can throw in and help them make progress with the amount of time I have, as opposed to trying to start some huge thing all by myself. What else can you do after you finish Catalyze other than Impact Maker? Dave mentioned this, but I just want to highlight again, the Explore program is an incredible experience. We really never had anybody do it who didn't like it. People love it so much. So that is something you're eligible for after you finish Catalyze. And then we also have scholarship and reduced tuition opportunities for alumni of the program. And we have different info sessions about that throughout the year. So you can always get more information about that. If you're curious right now about it, I'll send a follow-up email after the info session to everybody. You can always ask me any questions and we'll make sure we get you answers if that's helpful to have that information. All right, if you really, really love the logistics, here we go. We have our actual session weeks here. There is a kickoff at the end of August, but our actual content-focused sessions run from September to graduation the week of February 23rd. We're saying week of right now because what we do is we survey you to find out when works to have the session. So those of you who have already started your application know there's a question in the application about what works for you. So we then take all that information and we pick always one work day, so falls within the traditional 9-to-5 work day, and then always one evening session for folks. And it generally is not we generally can find a time that works for everybody. We do have tuition as a part of the program. So I'm going to put this up so you can have a chance to see it. It's on a sliding scale, again, because our goal is accessibility. You know, we want it to be a sustainable program, but at the same time, we want folks to be able to be part of it. If this cost still does not make the program accessible for you, when you're doing the application, you can put a note that you would want a scholarship. I'll follow up with you and we'll figure out what that can look like. The other thing I always tell folks is if the people you work for ever pay for professional development or conference attendance or executive coaching or management coaching or anything like that, this may be the kind of thing your employer would pay for or would pay for part of. So it's always worth asking. And some of you have reached out to me for information to share with your employer. You're welcome to do that too. If there's specific things that your employer would need in order to cover it, send that my way so I can help you put that together. All right, we're gonna chat about the application. I saw there's something in the chat. I'm gonna catch it in just a second. So application is completely online. We really just want to hear from you about who you are and what you care about. What about Arizona interests you? What about yourself are you looking to develop? Who are you looking to work with? What are you looking to learn? We just want to learn a little bit about you through this. This is not, as Dave said earlier, you do not need to try to name drop all the biggest things in your resume. You also don't need to write really, really, really long narratives. We want to know that you can answer the question and that you're willing to share about yourself and that you're willing to tell us what's great about you, but you're also willing to show a little humility about what about yourself you'd like to work on. So that's our online application. Application reviews from May to June. We have some board members, community members, Dave, all review those applications. As you're going through the application, there's lots of different odds and ends questions we ask in there. A lot of that is for me as program manager to get things set up. You should know the reviewers do not see anything but your answers to the short answer questions, including your name. They do not see that either. So just that your answers is really the only thing we give them access to. We'll send out notifications to Class 5 members on June 16th. We know for a lot of you, you're busy folks. You're trying to figure out what your fall schedule is going to look like. We want you to know early what's going on. So we'll let you know on the 16th if you're in the class, and then we'll also let you know the schedule. So what is the daytime session? What is the evening session? So you can start planning and getting ready for that. You can always head to our website, and a week from this Friday is the deadline. So hop in there and hit submit if you've been waiting on it. And if you haven't started it, go ahead and start it. It is not as intimidating as you might think it is. Just hop in there and give it a go. All right. Best part of the whole program is getting to hear from alumni. So we have two incredible alumni here today. Just want to do a quick introduction, and then I will hand it over so we can hear a little bit from them about their experience. So our first alumni speaker is a seasoned professional dedicated to transforming healthcare and education outcomes across Arizona. He's a staff vice president at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Arizona. His career extends across business strategies, account management, organizational development, learning strategy, and he brings a deep understanding of how systems change happens when people come together with purpose to both his volunteer work and professional work. He is an alumni of our 4th Catalyze class and continues to uplift others through all of his work with many Valley organizations, but also with Valley Leadership's own impact teams. So please join me in welcoming Washington Covina to tell us a little bit about his Catalyze experience.
Hey, Carrie, thanks for such a great introduction. And it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. I want to start off by congratulating you all for your decision to consider or having already decided to participate in Catalyze. The fact that you're here speaks to your natural nature of wanting to learn, wanting to be at the table, and wanting to make impact. And so I congratulate you for that. So as Carrie mentioned, I'm a healthcare executive, and as such, I have the great opportunity, as many of you do, to collaborate and learn from many leaders and organizations in our community. As I was scrolling through the page here, I see a lot of folks that I recognize already from AEF and from First Things First and from SRP and others. So it's great to see other leaders that are participating in the program. But as a recent graduate of Catalyze, I'd like to share with you a little bit of my experience as a participant. For me, participating in this program has been a pretty transformative journey, one that challenged me to think deeply about leadership, think about community impact, and think about personal growth. And something that stood out to me was really the intentionality behind every aspect of the program. So, as Carrie mentioned, from having insightful speakers to meaningful peer connections. And I highly encourage you that if you participate in the program, take full advantage of this course to make connections. I personally printed out a copy of my roster or from my session, which I keep pretty close. I encourage you guys to DM folks in your pod, hit people up on LinkedIn, create WhatsApp groups is what our group did, which has allowed us to stay connected even after the course. But overall, every experience that you'll have will contribute to a broader understanding of what leadership truly means in practice, leadership in action, which is something I really took away. I'll give you an example of that. The guest speakers in particular were an aspect for me that really resonated. Hearing from other influential leaders from various sectors, providing their perspectives on leadership, on service, on making, lasting impact was really valuable. Each of them brought a pretty unique perspective and insight on, what was happening in their area, whether, we were having a discussion on public policy or civic engagement or, leading with authenticity, they all brought a very unique perspective. And those conversations, in particular to me, left me with reflecting on how to apply that wisdom that I was taking into my own leadership style. And beyond the structured sessions that you'll go through, I'll underscore this again. The relationships that I built throughout the program were very significant. Connecting with other like-minded individuals, people who shared a passion for making a difference in their community, created an environment for collaboration, mutual support, and respect. So whether it was through the formal discussions that we were having in the pods or through casual meetups, and a lot of us still meet up casually, the depth of these connections made the experience much richer for me. It was an investment in my time, but I will tell you that the program provided me, with a moment of pause, time to reflect on my personal leadership style, my strengths, areas to grow. You'll find that there are, what I call intentional exercises that helped me to gain a very clear understanding of my leadership approach. I was able to identify my areas of strength, the areas where perhaps I needed a little more knowledge on, and pinpoint ways to then develop skills that would help me, be a more effective leader. So I don't know how many of you have seen the show Severance on Apple TV, where they try to disconnect, right, your work life from your personal life. I think we all know that is not the way that it happens. So for me, oftentimes I would think, man, this is something that I could apply not only to my work life, but also to my personal life. And the program has been set up that way to help us think in how we can take what we're learning and apply it to different aspects of our life. And I really like that about it. So this emphasis on self-awareness was powerful, reinforcing the idea, at least to me it was, that leadership begins with understanding yourself, right? So of course, the social events and the informal gatherings were also a welcome addition to the experience, but overall, the Catalyze program for me was a catalyst, both personally and professionally. It helped me to reinforce, at least for me, the importance of leadership as an active, engaged process. Oh, that's someone else called me. I apologize for that. There's work again. And it'll challenge you to think about how you can contribute to meaningful change. I walked away from this experience feeling more prepared, more connected, and inspired to step into leadership opportunities with confidence and with clarity. And I hope that it does the same for you. So thank you, Carrie and Dave and Paige, for allowing me to share my experience with this group. I'm looking forward to see what you guys do. I am reachable on LinkedIn if you ever want to shoot me a note and talk to me more about my experience with Catalyst or the work that I do. I'm happy to take a call. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you, Washington. And Dave has a thing he says about the program. You get out of it what you put into it. And I think you're a great example of really putting a lot into the program and building those connections with your pod and coming to events. And I'm glad it worked out, that you got something out of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to meet you all. I need to jet off to another meeting, but it was great to spend some time with you tonight. Have a good rest of your meeting.
And then we've got one more alumni we get a chance to hear from today. So our final alumni guest speaker is a passionate wellness advocate, educator, entrepreneur, who's redefining how we care for ourselves and our communities. She's the founder of Restorative Fitness, where she empowers individuals to reclaim their health and purpose through movement and mindfulness. Outside of her company, she is also on the board for the Midtown Neighborhood Association. She is also a member of Catalyze Class 4 and an active member of our alumni community, including being willing to rearrange her evening a little bit to join us last minute. So thank you so much, Kelly Williams. We'd like to hand it over to you to share a little about your Catalyze journey.
Thank you. I have to follow up after Washington. Come on, guys. That's a hard follow-up. No, he was wonderful. And for those of you that don't know him on LinkedIn already, if you do follow him on LinkedIn, he is unstoppable. That man is everywhere all the time. He is a wonderful resource. Okay, so I would say my experience with Catalyze is a little bit different, but absolutely wonderful. In my opinion, Catalyze Valley Leadership is 50-50 of leadership learning and skills, but also learning about what's happening in Arizona. Like what are the events and the tasks and the challenges that Arizona is really facing. And so those are the two things that I really valued and took away from it. So one, and I told Karan this last time that we were talking at the Valley Leadership, what do you call it, Spring Social. One, the thing that I value the most and the thing that I miss the most now that I'm not actively in it, for 6 months here, was having a space to come together and talk about these issues that Arizona is facing in an equitable, professional, and open environment. How often do you want to talk about something that you're passionate about, especially when it comes down to politics or personal views about water or power usage or economy or anything like that, and you're around your friends, you're around your coworkers, you're around your family, and it just snowballs into a non-productive conversation? I absolutely value how much Catalyze gave us that space as professionals to come and have those discussions, to learn about it, to talk about it, and to feel safe and equitable when we were doing that. So that's one thing that I think is absolutely valuable with this program. And I am still missing. So you have opportunities to enjoy it while you have it for the 6 months, and please get involved afterwards. They have dinner and dialogue. They have a lot of opportunities for you to do that. So that's one. The next thing is it really helps you level up your networking. I know for me that I end up in the same network group, right? A lot of exercise, physical therapists, chiropractors, those types of things. And our class, I believe, had 130, 133, give or take. And it was such a mix of everybody. So when you get together for the socials, when you get together in your pods, it's not just the same people that you know around the same topics. It really levels up how you try to interact with people, how you try to connect with people, and it pulls you into their world as well. So you get this all around stronger perspective of who are the people in your environment, who are the leaders in your environment, what are they doing, what do they value, and how can you contribute or support them? So that was another fantastic piece of this. Third, I would say getting information about the issues that are facing Arizona. So from those guest speakers, getting absolutely authentic information about what's happening, not just a news clip from the web, from social media, something from your friend, like actually spending sometimes hours with our guest speakers, listening to their research and what they're doing about it, what their ideas are on it, educating us, and not necessarily educating us on everything that they're doing moving forward, but what the problem is. That was so valuable to really get that information that was a lot less filtered in terms of media. Where's it coming from? What's going on? And just get it from the source themselves. So I absolutely valued all the guest speakers, the time they put into it to be super authentic and super informative about those issues. You walk away actually feeling like, wow, I knew there was something going on about water, but now I really understand. Or I knew that, I wanted to get involved with education. I knew there were issues, but now I know where those places are. So that was absolutely valuable. And then the last thing I would say, the biggest takeaway for me in terms of leadership, we talked about it in our class. A lot of people identified with this program that they loved learning or being reminded that you don't have to have permission to lead, right? You don't have to have permission to be a leader. I would say on top of that, leadership can be done anywhere. Leadership can be done in action. It can be done with your kids. It can be done with your family. It can be done at your, professional and network events, not just in a if you're in a management role or something like that, or you're in an executive role, if you're the boss, whatever the term you want to use, you can do it anywhere. So if you're going to go to choir and, you can take those leadership skills into choir. If you're not familiar with leaderships, this is a great introduction to it. If you've already had training in leadership like I did, but it was 20 years ago, this is a great reminder and a great refresher to kind of let you know where you're at, how you're acting, how you can change, and how best to interact with people. So I would say those are my 4 main takeaways that I absolutely value from Valley Leadership. I highly recommend you guys get involved, stay involved. They have so many options to do that, and I would recommend taking advantage of all of them.
Thank you, Kelly. And I think Kelly is a great example of really the personal connections, taking advantage of those. Like, she's been at things, she's showing up to things. When we say, hey, do you guys want to get together and do this? She's game to jump in. And so it's another one of those, you say yes to these things, and then you just get to meet more people and get pulled into more things. And I would second that. As somebody who sits and watches, 2 rounds of these each year, I am constantly surprised by how honest and like kind of cutting straight to the core of things the guest speakers are. So it's always really fascinating to listen to. And that's coming from somebody who listens to it twice each time. So thank you, Kelly, so much for your time. We really appreciate it. We will set you free to your evening. And then for everyone else, if you have any questions, we're happy to take them in the chat. We're happy to have you just hop off mute and ask. You also can respond to my follow-up email if you prefer to ask your questions the next day after you think about it.
And I see a question from Andrew that I'll take a quick stab at. But really for Carrie, as a facilitator, what do you like to see in terms of personal growth for Catalyze Fellows? We measure you. So we have a whole slew. Each principle of doing comes with, I don't know, 6 to 9 bullets of specific behavior. And again, when we say we want you to operate from those principles of doing, we train you along the way of how that actually happens. And then we measure your growth over the course. We really get into it, both with facilitated discussion, but then also through your pods, so that you understand what it's like for growing in a certain area. Again, it's not just build trust. Okay, I thought I grew in that. Here are 5 ways that you can practice that. And over the course of the program, we teach to that, and then have you go operate from that. And we see how that happened. You talk about it with your pod. So it's very, again, hands-on and tangible in each of the growth areas of how you make progress with your personal growth. Carrie, did I do that justice? And what would you add?
That's perfect. No, that's the core of it. That's the core of the growth we're looking for. Like when you ask us about our bottom line, what we're looking to provide when we design the program. I think what I'd add on to it is what we like for personal growth is to help folks figure out what's a personal goal for you as we roll through each topic, because they're all going to be different. But as we're talking about something, thinking to yourself, where does this apply for me? Do I want to practice this because I need to work on it in my work life? Because I want to work on it in my family life? Because I want to work at it I got a board that I'm on where the board's a little dysfunctional and I want to help pull them in line. Or, a lot of folks in here are mentors. Do you have someone in your team? Are you managing a brand new manager? And do you actually want to be rolling some of the things you're working on forward to them? So really, we're looking for is also find how it applies to you so that you're thinking about that piece as we roll through the work, and you're thinking about how it works for you, because then you end up getting more out of it and it's more useful. And sometimes the way I'm presenting it is often about think about it for yourself, for work, thinking about value leadership style work, like work where we're driving forward for Arizona. But no, you can always be pulling those topics over to where it's most applicable to you, and then it is more beneficial. And then you can always toss questions our way. That's always really fun and rewarding for Dave and I and other guest speakers when we get to talk to you about really specific issues. So we do have people say, okay, this is specifically like a thing that I'm working through. How can I use this stuff? Or do you guys have other resources I could use or other connections I could pull in to try to get this thing done? We love helping there too. Helping you be able to do whatever it is you're looking to do. Because that is our ultimate bottom line is getting things done. I did have one other question I just wanted to share, which is about payment for tuition that you can space it out over months, over quarters, or things like that as well. So that's all something you can work out with me as we get to figuring out tuition levels and all those kinds of things at the end. But no, it's all very flexible, and also ask for a scholarship if you need it, or ask me to help you draft an email to your boss if you want to. All right. I'm around. Dave's around. Well, we're happy to answer questions as you've got them. And we will send out a recording of this and just odds and ends resources for you that you can review. Look for that tomorrow morning.
Thanks, Carrie. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your evening. We'll see you soon.